probably know that I'm very devoted to bringing a lot of the music of composers who either were banned or in one way or other suppressed by the regime of Nazi Germany. Why is this so important? Is because many of these composers came from the center of the culture of German classical music that we so admired. The cultural crime of the Nazi regime was to have destroyed an environment where classical music had thrived for over 200 years. From Bach through Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, Schubert, Mendelssohn, Brahms, right up through Wagner, Strauss. This was the climate. And these composers were, many of them, at the center of this. And then they were banned. We know why they were banned, and we know the whole story. But the important thing is that the music was not played after 1934. The first problem was the music was banned by the Nazis. The second problem is after the war, there were very few people left to defend these composers because the composers were gone, the musicians, many had emigrated or had died. So a lot of this music remained unplayed for many decades. I discovered for myself how important and how many beautiful pieces there are about 20 years ago. And so I become devoted to trying to get people to hear this music and to play it. And so I thought perhaps that would be a nice thing to do at the White Nights Festival. And I proposed this to Valery Gergiev. He said yes, absolutely, because they've not played it. So that's why we're doing it. Well, it began, frankly, because I heard something. I heard Seejungfrau by accident, and I knew Zemlinsky's name, but I did not know one note of his music. And that got me interested in Zemlinsky. But when I started to study about Zemlinsky and history, I started to learn other names. Then I started to learn about Franz Schreker. Then I learned about Erwin Schulhoff. Then the Terezin composers, Victor Ullmann in particular. So once I got to a point where I understood that we don't know this music, not because it's bad music, but because it was arbitrarily eliminated by the regime. And so once you open your mind to this in spirit, then I start to listen to more music, start to study it, start to perform it. And there is enough music to fill 2 lifetimes. There are literally hundreds of symphonic pieces which are worth playing. There are many operas that are worth hearing. I can't do them all, but I do as best I can. And people today, they tend, if they haven't heard a piece, they tend not to go to a concert, or if they don't recognize the name. This has changed. But I have found that sometimes it's difficult to get people to come to the concert because they don't know the name, but when they come, they love it. I found that this piece in particular is a very beautiful piece, very touching, very moving, very strong piece for orchestra, powerful piece. And for our ears today, it's not difficult at all. It's not difficult listening. It's 100 years old, more than 100 years old, this piece, and it's a very great it's early 20th century music, big expression. I think audience will love it. About Rusalka. Well, the Jungfrau, of course, is Rusalka. You know the story very well. But this story has a particular personal meaning to Zemlinsky, because Zemlinsky was teaching when he was a young man, and he had a beautiful student, young lady, who fell in love with him, and he with her. And that young lady was Alma Schindler, the future Alma Mahler. And when Alma left Zemlinsky and went to Mahler, Zemlinsky was heartbroken, and this Seejungfrau, Rusalka, is the result. This is his pouring out of his love for Alma and his disappointment, just like Rusalka wants to love the prince, but she cannot in the end. And the Rusalka, depending on there are a few versions of the myth, but in one she gives her soul back to the universe. And in a way, Zemlinsky gives his soul to the universe in the form of music making. And the end of this work is a little bit like Liebestod of Tristan and Isolde of Wagner. Very uplifting spiritually. It's a beautiful work. Mozart is great anytime. Mozart, if I had to take one composer and say I can listen and conduct every day of my life and will be happy to the end of my life, it's Mozart. So any opportunity I have, I think that the Mozart, I have particular love for the piano concerti. I have done 3 complete cycles in my life of the all concerti, all of them, and they are great. Every one of them is great. So for me, it's a good combination. Just as I love Mozart with Mahler, I like Mozart with Zemlinsky. Well, I would be very honored too. Of course, I spoke with Valery Gergiev. I hope so. If you would like me back, I would be honored to come back. I love what I have seen in St. Petersburg. It's one of the great cities of the world. There's this, you know. I don't have to tell you. But the festival has so exciting, with 2 theaters now and a concert hall, and it's great. It's fantastic.